People believe that winning is the best thing that could happen to them, that winning perpetuates winning. I used to believe the same. I used to believe that winning is the best thing that could happen to me. But what if it is not? I spent the last 8 years of my life researching this paradox that not winning is in fact more powerful than winning. How is that even possible? I want to spend the next few minutes sharing the power of not winning and how we can use this insight to transform our lives. But before I do that, I want to make a confession. So when I was growing up, there was a time when I was addicted to lotteries. I was a closet gambler. So you can imagine this little brown girl, 12, 13-year-old, running around the streets of India buying lottery tickets. I get tempted to do that even today. Well, that's a different story. But what I found really interesting was when I would buy these lottery tickets and I would get 5 of those 6 digits of the winning number, I would lose the lottery, but it would enthrall me so much. And I wondered why. I'd lost. I should have been like given up, but it was just the opposite. So years later, I wanted to study this phenomenon more scientifically. I wondered if winning could actually be less motivating than not winning, and if others shared this experience, or was I the only weird one out? So what do? I'm a researcher. I decide to run experiments both in the lab and in the field to examine whether this conundrum better, to understand this entire puzzle better. So what I want to do is, I want to share some of the fruits of this research with you, share a couple of experiments, tell you about what we learned from this, and how we can apply these learnings to our personal lives, to our family, and to our organizations. So let me first start with telling you about one of the many, many experiments we conducted, which led us to believe that not winning could actually be really powerful. So what we did was, we designed this video game. You could play it on your phones, on the computer. And this game was very close. It was a simplified version of Minesweeper. It had 16 tiles on the game. Some of these tiles covered rocks, while the other covers diamond. So you had to find 8 diamonds in a specific number of tiles. If you did that, you would win the game and you would get a reward. Simple, right? If you did not, you would lose the game. But what we did was, we engineered the game such that one group of players actually found all the diamonds and won this game. So this was the group we called the winners. But another group of people, another group of players, what they found was, they could manage to find 7 of the 8 diamonds. So they almost tasted the reward, but they eventually lost the game. We're going to call them non-winners. When the game was over, we gave them another opportunity to earn money on a task which was completely unrelated to this game. Okay. What they had to do in this task was, simple task, they had to sort 100 cards in 3 different piles. The goal was to be very fast and accurate. They got very limited time to work on this task. So the faster they are, the more accurate they are, they could earn more money. At the end of it, we measured the performance and we paid them accordingly. So we know who out of these people had actually won the game, or who out of these people were non-winners in the previous task. And when we looked at the performers of this winners and non-winners on this completely unrelated task, what we found was, contrary to what is commonly believed, it was the non-winners, these people who had lost on the video game, they performed much better and ended up earning significantly more amount of money than did the winners. And this was a finding we found consistently across experiments with about 1,000 people in North America and in Asia. We found that non-winners, those people who had just lost by a little bit, they were more motivated than the winners. In one experiment, for example, we found that these non-winners actually walked faster toward another unrelated reward. In yet another experiment, we found that they salivated more looking at unrelated rewards. So then why is it that not winning motivates us more than winning does? So I want to introduce one of my most favorite psychologists, Clark Hull. Clark Hull, he ran a very interesting experiment with rats. What he found with rats was, rats, as they approach a food reward, they start running faster. Their motivation gets more and more intensified as they approach a reward. Okay? You might say, we're not rats. You're going to be right. We're not rats. Turns out, it's the same way with human beings. Our motivation gets intensified as we approach our goals. So that's an interesting finding. Let's stretch it a little further and apply it to the context of almost winning or losing just by a little bit. So you have these non-winners. They're inching toward the goal of getting the reward. Their motivation is getting intensified, but then they miss it. So now they have a motivation that's intensified, but not yet satisfied. What happens to this motivation? This motivation now hooks on, gives you the energy for the next goal that you have. Now let's think about the winners. Winners inch toward their goal, they achieve it. Their motivation is now satisfied. They don't have the same amount of energy as do the non-winners. Okay. So it tells us this experiment and many other experiments I ran tells us an interesting thing about motivation. So motivation is a very generic source of energy that needs to be applied very wisely. I use this analogy that I think best explains this phenomenon. When you think of motivation, it's like the energy, like the gas pedal in your car. Once you activate that gas pedal, it can get hooked on to the next goal. So goal in this sense is the direction, it's the steering wheel in your car. You need the gas pedal to be activated and the steering wheel to be moved in the right direction to succeed. So you have this insight now. What can we do with it? How do we apply it? Let's first talk about how can we apply this insight to our personal lives. What this tells us is about this almost win insight is, when you're setting goals for yourself, set goals that are slightly beyond your reach. Goals that you can almost reach, but not quite. They're slightly beyond your capacity. And this almost reaching your goal, this experience is going to give you the motivational juice, that fire in the belly that you need to succeed on your next goal. Keep in mind though, I'm going to put a caveat on this. I told you that motivation is like the gas pedal and steering wheel, goal is like the steering wheel, right? So where the steering wheel is moved is up to you. You could actually use this motivation energy and apply it to that next big project you're working on, or you could squander this away on another kind of reward, a night out at a club. So I'm going to share this experiment with you, which I think better explains this point. We ran this field experiment at a fashion accessory store in California. What we did was we gave shoppers lottery tickets. So this lottery ticket had 6 eights, and what they had to do was if these shoppers found all 6 eights, they would win the lottery. If not, they would win. So we had a group of shoppers who got all 6 eights and they actually won. They got a gift certificate. Then there were non-winners who got 5 of the 6 eights, okay? And they did not win the lottery. These were the non-winners. So we then looked at how much they had shopped when they were exiting the store. And what we found was that non-winners who had lost the lottery and did not get the gift certificate, they ended up shopping a lot more than did the winners. So they had this gas pedal activated, their motivational energy was activated, but their steering wheel was moved in the direction of the shopping goal. They were surrounded by these rewards and they activated energy, moved on, hooked on to the shopping goal. What does this tell us? You got to use that fire in the belly wisely. When you have this burst of motivational energy, that's the time when you want to start working on that big project you've been thinking of working on for a long time. So it's good for us. Can we now use this insight to be a better parent? You do that. I see parents, often egging their kids on, go win, you've got to win. Sometimes they would actually lose to give the experience of winning to their kids. Pretty good, huh? Winning is not bad. What I'm going to argue is, let them lose. Let them lose at least sometimes. Tell them how close they were to the finish line. Because this entire experience, if they're working on you're on a game or on a class project, telling them how close they are to the finish line, that close but not yet experience is going to keep that motivational juice flowing for a longer time. And that's what you want with your kids. We're all here representing organizations, or we're going to go and work in some organizations. We want the best for our organizations. How do we apply this insight to make our people more motivated? And I've worked in this area for the longest time. I've consulted with companies here, and one of these issues, very important but not an easy task that managers grapple with, is goal setting. Goal setting for their team members. In the personal goal setting rule that I actually shared with you is very applicable here too. What you need to think about is set goals for your team members that are slightly short of what they're capable of doing, but not so hard that they get demoralized and quit. So you need to find that right point that gives you the motivational energy of almost reaching your goal. But what this means is, as a manager, you need to understand the capacity of your team members. You need to calibrate the capacity of your team members, without which you cannot engage into this goal-setting exercise. You can use this near win or almost win insight for designing training programs as well. So when you think of training programs, I'm a professor, I teach in executive programs, and when we design these executive programs, we try to make such programs within reach of all the attendees. That's what organizations, I've trained in organizations as well, that's what we always tend to do. I would say keep it out of reach of your attendees, not within reach. So you should customize your training program such that your attendees feel like it's almost there, but they're not actually getting it. And how do you do that? Think about your program attendees who can get anything. You want to customize your programs, include questions that they get some things at least. On the other hand, if you have program attendees who are getting about everything, program the system to include questions that they don't get. So you can actually customize, you can tune and give them this feeling of almost being there and keep their motivational juice flowing. Final thing I'm going to talk about is with organizations, and again, this is something I've spoken with many, many people who manage sales teams, and they really struggle with it. How do you give feedback to your salespeople? One of the things companies really focus on is on the star performers, right? So when you think about your star performers, they're crucial for any organization, but I would say your non-stars shine brighter than the stars because they have those people who actually almost reach the star performer group. They have more motivational juice than do your star performers. They're going to get more business to you later on. So another thing you want to do with your salespeople is pick up every salesperson and compare the salesperson with the next best person. So they know they were so close to that next best line there, and that can get their motivational juice flying. So I started off saying that not winning could actually be more powerful than winning. I really do hope that you would now love not winning as much as you love winning, if not more. If you are the person, if you are really trying to get that last ball into that hoop and you could win the game with that last ball and you don't get it, you miss it, do remember, you have now more motivational energy than the opponent does, because winners really do not take it all. Thank you.